Hello and welcome to the Quibber channel. I am Jason, your host. And I want to talk about a site that I use a lot. Now, this is a pay site, unfortunately, and so take that with it what you will. But it's one of the better sites if you want to know what's going on in the world. You see, when I'm looking into stuff like Russia, when I'm looking into the political situation, I look all over the internet. I don't look at one place. I mean, I look at Reddit because sometimes you can see on their world news, on their live news feeds and that, before the moderators kick in, you can see stuff going on as soon as it hits. There's so many different places. YouTube is actually a good source for news if you understand the bias of influencers and things like that. Sometimes you can get some raw stuff there. There's all your local channels, Sky News and all that kind of thing, but they've all got biases. And when I look at them all, my brain automatically does a looking for the things they're not saying. I always say, you shouldn't worry when they're all shouting about something. You should worry when something's going on and they're not talking about it. When they've been told not to discuss it. When something's getting so bad that they don't want us to know. This doesn't happen often. It's usually reading between the lines. But one of the best sites I ever go to, and a friend of mine introduced me to me a long time ago, is called Ground.news. It's at Ground.news, the website is. And let me just bring up a little show of it. I won't show much of it. Well, actually, no, I don't think I should show the actual web page. But the nice thing about Ground.news is, and they do different subscriptions and that. I use it a lot, so I've got it's one of my subscriptions I pay once a year. But basically, Ground News it brings together news from all over the world. And then it has a very robust system which shows you whether it's a left-leaning story, whether it's a right-leaning story, whether it's a centrist story. It does a lot of its own fact-checking. And it's a place there are a lot of people I know who want to know what's really going on. It has things like, you can customize it for yourself. So you can click all the places. You can click all your places that you want to know about in the world. And it will bring together all that news. And I've got on my front page a story about the winter fuel. And basically underneath that it says left-leaning organisations have only reported it. Labour have only reported it 14% because it's a Labour decision. Centrist 43% and right, the opposing party, their bias, the newspapers and everything that are biased to them and actually are part of them, 43%. So it shows that it's not being publicised as much by the ones in line with the government. It's being publicised the opponents and that. So it shows that this isn't kind of news that they want out there in public. And if you click on the actual thing, it will tell you whether or not high factuality, mixed factuality. It will explain, if you have a look at it, what the different factuality, it can tell you very low, as in there's lots of lies and hype in the stories in it. Yeah. If you find something that's a very high factuality rating, these news sources are very reliable and known for sticking to the facts. They consistently provide well-researched, accurate information with minimal bias or sensationalism. So you can look through all the stories, because it isn't just about cutting out all the other ones. It's about actually seeing the thingy. And then it has things like what's called a blind spot. Now, blind spot is stories that they've found that is disproportionately reported by one side of the political agenda or the other. And that can lead to interesting questions. Let's say if Trump did something really amazing. Of course, all those news sites that are allied with Trump would publish it and raise it to the rafters. But the other side, the Democrats, biased news outlets, would tone it down and not show it. So blind spot can be how you can see all the things that are going on, and it'll tell you a percentage of how many people are showing it. How much, like, for example, there's a story here. Melanie Trump names longtime aide as East Wing's Chief of Staff. Now, this is reported only by 22% blue sites, 11% centre sites, and 67% red sites. 76% blue sites, sorry. And that shows that it's a blind spot story. So, and also you've got a section called local where you put in your own location and it will pick up all the news from where you live and what is relevant to you. So I get, in total, 2,497 stories are published about the place I live, which Ground.news has aggregated in the last 3 months. So I can just go through there and see if there's anything happening in my area. Very quickly, I can see lots of stuff in this general area of where I live. It's an amazing resource to know what's really going on in the world. And to know about things that you don't usually hear from your main sites and that. And it's interesting to see which sites actually are more factual than that. Like, for example, if I'll go into a story, just one around a... Okay, so we got... Okay, there's a Scottish story here. Okay. Man caught with cocaine and cash by police in early morning raid. Now, they always show you a little excerpt of the story and you can go to the actual main story if you want to afterwards. So it's such and such drove up to 120 miles per hour to flee the police before his car stopped due to police stinger device. Police discovered 13 packets of cocaine in the boot. Nicole has pleaded guilty to charges. No shit. Yeah. So this story has been reported by 6 articles with very high factuality, centrist mainly, and left. It even tells you who's actually was the source, like the source for the BBC News, the government of the United Kingdom, the Herald Scotland, a newspaper in Scotland, is part of media conglomerate Garnet, high factuality and leans left. That shows you the story might have a little bit of a left leaning. It might take a punch at the Conservatives for allowing something like this to happen, all the drugs and the bad stuff and that while they're in power, all that kind of thing. So you can sort of see these kind of things, and then you can look at something below that. There's the same story is syndicated to the South Wales Argus, another news site. Same story, pretty much exactly the same story, just slightly reworded, and this is part of the same Garnet media conglomerate, but also states that it's high factuality, so it's a story that you can trust, and it's a centrist one that doesn't have bias much to either side. They usually stick to the thingy, and so on and so forth. And it's a Ground.news is well fucking worth it. They'll do a summary on the actual right side of the screen, which will tell you coverage details, total news sources 6, leaning left 2, leaning right 0, centre 2. Last updated 12 hours ago, bias distribution 50% left, 50% centre. And then it shows you the details of the bias next to it. And then below it is the factuality card, which says 75% high, 100% of the sources are high factuality, which means you can pretty much believe the story. The story has been checked and fact-checked and everything. Ownership, if any of the stories are owned by independent news. And then it tells you who actually broke the news. South Wales Argus broke the news in Newport, United Kingdom 21 hours ago on Friday, November the 22nd. These details give you an idea of when it happened and everything. This is an amazing site, Ground.news. Unfortunately, it is a pay site, and that because they do a massive amount of work. They've got a Black Friday gift event going on at the moment, 50% off on subscriptions. But if you want to know what's going on around the world, and you're tired of all the bullshit that comes up on your front page on the Edge browser or Google or anything like that, if you're tired of listening to the bullshit from your own news stations and that, and with all the bias and all this crazy stuff, then I highly recommend that no matter where you are in the world, if you've got access to Ground.news, then if you can afford a subscription to that, you will be a hell of a lot more keyed on actually what is going on in the world. So yeah, it's one of the few pay subscription places that I highly recommend. So I will say bye-bye for now.